everywhere. Bidenomics is delivering in every corner of South Carolina, not just the communities that were already prospering. From here in Lexington County, all the way down Highway 321 to Allendale, from Pickens up in the Piedmont to Dillon in the PD, from Marlborough County in the Sand Hills to Berkeley and Colleton counties in the Low Country, high-paying jobs are being created by South Carolinians doing work that is contributing to the future greatness of America. That's what Bidenomics is all about. Thanks to Bidenomics, South Carolina communities will no longer be left out of the digital world, but instead, every single residence and business in South Carolina will have broadband access within the next 3 years. These investments are only possible because of the laws we passed in Congress under Democratic majorities. Laws like the American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Safer Communities Act, and the PACT Act that is improving the lives of veterans throughout South Carolina. And none of my South Carolina colleagues voted for any of them, even though some of them are now trying to take credit for the benefits their constituents are enjoying. I can understand why they want to take credit. Bidenomics is good for their constituents. Bidenomics is good for South Carolinians. Bidenomics is good for America. Mr. President, I have known you for a long time, but more importantly, as I have said before, you know the American people, and you are demonstrating that day in and day out. Mr. President, welcome back to South Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nikki Hicks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, my name is Nikki Hicks, and I am an automation technician here at Flex, and I'm honored to represent the Flex employees here today. I'm a new mother with a happy, healthy 2-month-old baby boy. I grew up in the Georgetown, South Carolina area. After graduating high school in 2009, I moved to Columbia to look for work and start my career. During that time, I held various jobs working in retail elder care. I wanted more for myself, so I started to look for other opportunities. I joined Flex through a temp agency in 2015. I became Core Flex employee in 2019. Today I am an automation technician. I'm learning how to read schematics, troubleshoot when there are issues, and improve my communication skills. With the new Enphase production line, I am focused on ramping up production. Now, being a female automation engineer is unusual, but I like that I am breaking new grounds and showing others they can do the same. My goal is to become a manager and run operations one day. I am also hopeful about the future. I believe I can continue my love of learning, advance my career, and support my family. I am grateful we have a president who understands these aspirations, a president who gets it, a president who cares and works about good paying jobs, and about families like mine. That is why I'm honored today to introduce the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello, South Carolina. Thank you, Nikki. You wonder what I'm kicking there? I'm kicking this stand in. It's not working. How about that? All right. Maybe I stand on it. I'll be 6'4". Folks, thank you, Ralph, for being here. And I want to particularly thank my good friend Jim Clapper. The truth of the matter is, all of you know in South Carolina, I wouldn't be standing here if it were not for Jim Clapper. Jim has been one of the most consequential leaders in South Carolina history, in my view. He's tough, he's loyal, he's principled, and he let me, I want to tell you something. If he has your back, he always has your back. And Jim is good to be back in your home with you and your daughter. And look, former Mayor Steve Benjamin couldn't be here today, and you all remember Steve as your mayor, because he's traveling with his family. And it's great to have him here, have him part of our team. But his mom and dad are here. By the way, if you have seats, sit down. I'm sorry. I once said, everybody take a seat, and there were no seats. I said, Biden's so stupid he didn't know there were no seats. Anyway. Also want to thank the leadership of Enphase and Flex for hosting this. You know, I'm here to talk about what we're doing to invest in America. And I mean invest in America, all of America, starting here in South Carolina. I'm going to talk about the progress we made in building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not trickling down. When you build from the middle out and the bottom up, everybody does well. The wealthy still do very well. But that trickle-down economy, not a whole lot dropped in my dad's kitchen table growing up. It's all part of an economic vision for this country. I came to office determined, to the point that some of my own team thought I was too determined, to change the economic direction of this country, to move trickle-down economics and get rid of it for everyone, from the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, called the program Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it as a compliment at the time. Our plan is working. And one of the things I'm proudest of is working everywhere, not just in the coast and big cities like previous recoveries. This time investment is working in factories being built, and jobs being created, happening in rural America, the heartland, all across America. In communities that have been left out and hollowed out. This is what it looks like across the country. Over 13 million new jobs since I've been elected to office. More jobs than any president's ever created in the first 2 years. Nearly 800,000 manufacturing jobs, including 14,000 in this state alone. This state alone. And again, that's more in 2 years than was created in 4 years in any other administration. Unemployment been below 4% for the longest time in 50 years. Inflation is less than half of what it was a year ago, and we're continuing to work on it. You know, I know we have more to do. Bringing down inflation remains one of my top priorities. Job satisfaction nationally is at a 36-year high. The share of working-age Americans in the workforce is as high as it's been in 30 years. Remember they used to say, Biden spent all this money to keep people from working? People are off the sidelines. 20 years high. Higher than every single one of my predecessors. And to pay for low-wage workers, the pay for low-wage workers, has grown at the fastest pace in 2 decades. And folks, it's no accident. It's Bidenomics in action. Trickle-down economics has failed the country for decades. It means slashing public investment on things that helped America lead the world in innovation. You know, we used to invest 2% of our entire gross domestic product in research and development. You know what it is now? 0.7%. We used to be ranked #1 in the world in research and development. Know where we're ranked now? #9. China's #8 a decade ago, and now China's #2. And other countries are closing in fast. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. We used to have the best infrastructure in the world, rated #1. Now we're rated #13 in the world in infrastructure. How can you have the best economy in the world and not have the best infrastructure in the world? Under my predecessor, Infrastructure Week became a punchline. Every month. Anyway, I won't get into it. On my watch, we're making infrastructure a decade headline. A decade. Yesterday, we announced that since I took office, we've attracted $500 billion, $497 billion in private investment in American manufacturing, both here and around the world. It's historic. And it's Bidenomics in action. Instead of exporting jobs to cheaper labor costs, what we did for decades, we're creating jobs here and exporting American product. Product, not jobs. That's the story here in South Carolina. Earlier, we heard the leadership of Enphase say that $60 million they're investing here. Well, that's 1,800 jobs across the country, and up 600 permanent jobs right here in South Carolina. All a direct result of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act we wrote and passed. Well, that's largely in the past, where so much money is coming in to make all this happen. By the way, parenthetically, I want you to hear about the deficit. I cut the deficit $1.7 trillion in 2 years. Nobody's ever done it. Cut the debt 1.7. Generates income. It generates growth. Enphase first commercialized the component that converts solar energy into electricity. All that solar energy doesn't do a whole lot of good if you can't do it and convert it into electricity. It's called, they invented a thing called a solar microinverter. Jobs that used to go to Mexico, India, Romania, and China are now coming home to South Carolina. Now Enphase is partnering with Flex to make these parts here in South Carolina. And today, they're shipping their first microinverters made in America. The good news is 90% of these jobs require intelligence but don't require a college degree. And Flex is working with Midlands Technical College in Columbia to develop training and pathways for folks to get these jobs. Since I took office, we've seen over 60 domestic manufacturing announcements all across the solar supply chain. One of the biggest is in Dalton, Georgia. You may find it hard to believe, but that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. I'll be there for the groundbreaking. Look, just today the Department of Energy announced new incentives for companies to bring solar power manufacturing back to our shores. We're in a real race. China's ahead of us. This is another step in helping us meet the goal of 100% clean, renewable energy electricity by 2035. By 2035, all electricity in America is going to be generated by clean energy. That's a big deal. It's saving billions of tons going into the air, pollution. We see the same story in semiconductors. Those small little computer chips the size of the tip of your finger that affect nearly everything in our lives. from your cell phone, to automobiles, to refrigerators, to the most sophisticated weapon systems. They need these. And guess what? America invented these chips. We're the ones that invented them. We sophisticated those chips. We made them what they are. But over time, we went from producing nearly 40% of the world's chips down to less than 10%. That's why we designed and I signed the Chips and Science Act. All these names don't mean much until you know what they produce. Because I knew we had to reclaim America's leadership. Now, all over the country, semiconductor companies are investing a record hundreds of billions of dollars to bring chip production back home in Ohio, New York, Arizona, all across, like outside Columbus, Ohio. Intel is investing in 1,000 acres outside of Ohio, $20 billion. $20 billion. It's going to take 7,000 people to build the two, they call them fabs, factories, and it's going to take 5,000 permanent workers. Near Syracuse, Micron is investing up to $100 billion over the next 20 years, beginning now. In Phoenix, Arizona, TSMC is investing $40 billion, producing thousands of good-paying jobs. As I said, for example, in Ohio, those 7,000 jobs building the facility are going to generate economic growth in that entire region outside of Columbus, because they're generating, they bring along, you need stores, you need drugstores, you need a lot of things to maintain those jobs. And we're also seeing 3,000 jobs, those 3,000 jobs working in the fabs can make $100,000 a year. That's the average salary. And you don't need a college degree. Make $100,000. The middle class, this is a game changer. We're investing in the American agenda is about bringing supply chains home. Clean energy future, made in America. Before the pandemic, supply chains weren't something most Americans thought about. If I said to you 6 years ago, we're worried about a supply chain, you look at me like, huh? Well, I would have looked at you the same way. But today, after delays in parts and products, everybody knows why supply chains matter. We know for too long, China's dominated the production of raw materials needed for critical products. That's why we're building alliances with our friends all across the world, increasing our production here at home to create alternative sources for the minerals we need. Our goal is to bring full battery supply chain home. We create a battery belt stretching from Michigan to Georgia. In Chester County, South Carolina, Albemarle is investing $1.5 billion to process lithium for electric vehicle batteries. That's not only create 300 permanent jobs, but it will lift up a whole community. Restore some pride. It matters. The lithium will power components like it's going to be being made in redwood materials near Charleston. Where the company's making the largest investment in the history of the state. $3.5 billion to build a battery materials manufacturing plant, creating 1,500 jobs. That's another community changer. It's a game changer. And those materials will go into batteries that will be recycled by companies like Serbian Solutions, which is investing $300 million here in Richland County, creating another 300 permanent jobs. That's community after community after community. There's been that change. That's on its way. The change in enough communities is going to change the state. It's going to change the country. And Jim Clyburn's Institute, Promega Energy Storage Technologies, is investing $279 million to manufacture batteries, to store energy, to power the grid. Look, what do you think we have said if I came when I was here trying to get the nomination 3 years ago? And I told you about, while I was campaigning, that we'd see this kind of investment in South Carolina, billions of dollars. I think you would have been a little skeptical. That's why I fought so hard for the things I wanted to do. Didn't get much help from the other team. That didn't stop us from getting it done. That's going to transform America. All all told, since I signed the Inflation Reduction Act and the Chips and Science Act into law, companies have announced $11 billion in manufacturing and clean energy investments just in South Carolina. $11 billion. Companies across the county, across the country, are expanding factories, building new ones, creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs, most of which don't require a four-year degree. And when I say every job in America should be a good job, including a free and fair choice to join a union, I mean it. That's right. The manufacture of clean energy technology will be made stronger by collective bargaining relationships. That's up to you to decide. It's not just manufacturing. Through the bipartisan infrastructure law, we've already announced over 35,000 projects all across America, like the Brent Spence Bridge, which is a $1 billion operation over the Ohio River, from Ohio to Kentucky. And today, in New York, we're investing a record $1 billion to renew the Hudson Tunnel. We walked through that tunnel that was built so many years ago. It's falling apart. You'll be able to go through it 100 miles an hour instead of 30 miles an hour. Up in Union County, South Carolina, we're building 6 bridges critical to moving people and goods across the street. Each bridge is over 60 years old, with weight and volume restrictions that cause detours, congestion, and supply chains. The oldest one is where South Carolina 49 crosses the Tiger River. The biggest one is right here in Columbia, Malfunction Junction. You all know it. How many years have we talked about fixing Malfunction Junction? Now, thanks to Jim Clyburn and help from the infrastructure law, it's finally going to get fixed. It's going to get fixed. We're removing every single lead pipe in America. More than 100,000 lead service lines go into homes here in South Carolina. And they're a risk to everyone's health, including children. So it's time to get them removed and replaced. We're helping Richland School, District 1 here in Columbia, purchase 16 new electric buses. Woo! Because guess what? The diesel buses cause accidents. They cause problems. They cause additional problems. You all remember, during the pandemic, that thousands of people in this state didn't have a connection to high-speed internet, wherever, in their business or their home. Everybody now talks about it. We're going to close that digital divide. That divide between those who have reliable internet connection and those who don't. South Carolina is receiving $1 billion to close that divide, connecting every home and small business across rural America and rural South Carolina that doesn't have reliable high-speed internet. Thanks to Jim Clyburn's Affordable Connectivity Program, fancy name, but it's real. That's saying that 359,000 South Carolinian families are already saving $30 a month on their internet. Look, we're doing this in communities all over the country. You can see exactly where the money's going and whether you're affected in your community here by going to invest.gov. Click on to invest.gov, put in your location, and I'll tell you what's happening in your community. You all see projects we're delivering in communities all across America. Look, implementing this legislation also has another transformative impact. All those members of Congress who voted against it suddenly realize how great it is, and they're bragging about it. As my mother would say, God love it. I want to thank Senator Grant for voting for the bipartisan infrastructure and the Chips and Science Act. I wish he had voted for the rest. Every Republican member of the Congress voted against the Inflation Reduction Act. Everyone. Every Republican member of the House in this state voted to repeal the clean energy provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. That attracted all these talents. You know, and then after that effort failed, the Republican Study Committee, which includes over 3/4 of the House Republicans, just released a plan to go at trying to repeal it all again. That hadn't stopped them, though, from claiming credit. Now that billions of dollars and thousands of jobs are coming to the United States. It's not unusual. The distinguished senator from the state of Alabama, former coach of the university, strongly opposed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, is now hailing its passage. He said, quote, "Great to see Alabama receive critical funds to boost ongoing broadband efforts." Yeah, it's great. That's all right, because I'm one of those guys that believe in conversion. Look, folks, on a very serious note, when I ran, when I got elected, when I proposed these pieces of legislation, I made a commitment that I'd be present for all Americans, whether they're elected officials, voted for events or not, all Americans. Wherever you voted, if you're married or not. And I've kept my promise. In fact, some analysis have said that the laws I've signed are going to do more to help red America than blue America. That's okay with me, because we're all Americans. Because my view is, wherever the need is most, that's the place we should be helping. And that's what we're doing. Because the way I look at it, the progress we're making is good for all Americans, all Americans. Let me close with this. I'm not here to declare victory on the economy. I'm here to say we have a plan that's turning things around quickly, and we have a lot more work to do. When I came to office, we had a fundamental decision to make. Would we continue down the trickle-down economic path, a policy that's failed us time and again, that grew inequality, that saw jobs shipped overseas, towns hollowed out? When I ran, I promised we would not continue down the trickle-down path. But here's the simple truth about trickle-down economics. It represented a moment when we walked away from how this country was built. Bidenomics is just another way of saying restoring the American dream. 40 years of trickle-down limited the dream to those at the top. But I believe that every American willing to work hard should be able to get a good job, no matter where they live, in the heartland, in small towns, in every part of the country. To raise their kids with a good paycheck, keep their roots where they grew up. That's the American dream. My dad used to have an expression for growing up, my word. He said, "Joey, a job's a lot more than the paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it." That's Bidenomics. It's rooted in what always worked best for this country. Investing in America. Because when you invest in our people, when you strengthen the middle class, we see stronger economic growth that benefits everybody. I've long said it's never been a good bet to bet against America. And I can honestly say I've never been more optimistic about America's future. We just have to remember who we are, for God's sake. We're the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So let's continue to work together. God bless you all, and may God protect our future.
Like a fingerprint, but for a compound.
Wednesday afternoon, Kennedy Plude is hard at work.
And here is the sample.
A scientist at Keystone Labs in Asheville figuring out the blueprint and what sticks out.
So they're all different and they're unique.
This week, aside from the over 70 drugs she screens for at the lab, they've added one.
We've had a couple that have come through and the doctor suspected xylazine and we got positives.
Xylazine, or known on the street as Tranq, is a powerful animal tranquilizer.
You're not screaming like before, that's a plus sign.
Dealers are cutting it into other drugs like fentanyl, and the user doesn't know it. The results: it slows your heart rate down to a dangerous level, and in the worst cases, it renders the user unconscious and creates deep, open wounds that take months to heal. Right now, there are only a few labs in the country testing for Tranq.
There is some powdery residue left behind.
One of those at UNC Chapel Hill, testing the drug supply itself through needles and injection cotton. And now, Asheville is entering the market, but in a different way.
We're testing only in urine currently.
So this is the biggest and quickest spread that I think we've seen really ever happen.
Matthew McGreevy, the lab manager at Keystone, says normally when drugs spread, it's slow. But xylazine has been the opposite, a reason why the lab is now testing.
If somebody is unknowingly taking xylazine, then they don't know how to treat that, and it's a big concern is naloxone also doesn't work for it either.
In previous reporting, stretching from the eastern part of the state, UNC Chapel Hill shows as of May, out of 551 samples collected, 130 came back positive for Tranq. Checking back in Wednesday, just a month later, they've collected an additional 100. Out of the 100, 32 came back positive, 32% of the new samples.
But this is just as much as that epidemic. We don't know what the future is going to be like fentanyl.
Derek Stone with Keystone Labs says lab results are more effective. Right now, the xylazine test strip will provide a good indicator, but McGreevy echoes Stone.
You'll get false negatives really because it's present in the urine, but below that cutoff.
So I was hoping that we would test for it.
Sitting at her computer, Plude studies the results, looking to see if xylazine shows up, hoping this is the beginning of finding the blueprint.
And what these spikes represent are the positive results
that will stop the spread altogether.
Hopefully prevent the use of it.
In Asheville, Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
And once again, we have been following this Tranq epidemic that's been bleeding into the Carolinas for a bit now. You can see our complete coverage in Austin's previous reporting, as well as addiction resources right now on WCNC.com. Just look in the featured section. New at 11, the plan to widen Idlewild Road in Matthews and build another roundabout might be fast-tracked. Town leaders have voted to enter an agreement with NCDOT and developer Pappas Properties. WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman is in Matthew with the details.
Ask drivers about traffic on Idlewild Road and you'll get mixed responses.
Terrible. It's really bad.
Not too bad. Nothing worse than the city or anything like that.
Rush hour backups cause frustrations for many Matthews residents.
The way to home from work is really bad, and then the way to work is really bad.
New neighborhoods and future developments like Sante Matthews will add to the congestion.
Traffic is growing, our area is growing.
In NCDOT's plan for Idlewild, it'll be widened and another roundabout like this one will be put in near 485, but construction doesn't start until 2028.
The dates that we have in our plan are 2026 to start acquiring property and 2028 to start construction. So that contribution would help accelerate it.
That contribution is a $9 million advancement from Pappas Properties, the developer behind Sante Matthews. The live, work, play community will be next to the 485 interchange and attract thousands of cars to the area daily. So the developer is putting money toward the road improvements, speeding up the project by 2 years.
I think that'll help everybody out.
That is going to be so awesome.
Thompson says the plans will improve traffic and safety.
A roundabout kind of eliminates the possibility of cars crashing at at higher speeds and also at certain angles, and it keeps traffic flowing.
Once agreements are finalized, NCDOT will spend the next couple years buying property along Idlewild to make room for more lanes. In Matthews, Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
We could have turned that into a weather IQ as well.
Yes.
That sounds good.
I know, right?
You should be doing what you're doing, Ben.
No.
Welcome to the weather IQ team.
No, please, no.
Well, I'll take care of the heat index forecast because we have the mid-90s yet again. So it's been kind of a broken record forecast. Now it is July. July, as far as weather concerns, if you say it's going to be in the lower 90s, muggy with a chance for a thunderstorm, you pretty much nailed the forecast. So look at this. You could do what I'm doing today. 96 looks to be the peak. I think you could see some areas up to that 97, 98 about how we actually feel during the peak heating of the day, which which, by the way, is usually between about 4 to 6 o'clock. So 5 o'clock is usually the hottest temperature that we usually have for this time of the season. 83 degrees right now, feels like 87 because that dew point is that air you can wear. Once you have a 7 in the tens place for our dew points, you're really feeling it, and that's what we're going to have today. 92 degrees will be our high temperature, and that's actually where we were yesterday. And we continue this streak. Yesterday, I'll be honest, the cloud cover looked like it was going to last a little bit longer, keeping us closer to 90 degrees, but nope, we still got up to 92, so that means this is officially day 6 in a row that we made this top 5 list. Of course, we replaced one of the values, and today if we hit 92, it'll be day 7 of making this top 5, just replacing another one of those 92s. Our Futurecast radar is picking up on a chance for a thunderstorm, but here's the difference today compared to yesterday. Yesterday and days previous, we don't see our first storm until really the late afternoon. Most of us don't see it until the evening. I think anything goes today. We're already seeing our first signs of thunderstorms right around Wilkes County, and that's off towards the northwest. That'll push us way down to the southeast, and then we just see what I like to call popcorn kernel thunderstorms. They pop up, they pop down, they usually last less than 30 minutes, and then you might get heavy rain for maybe a 10-minute period, but that's pretty much it. I think 30 is going to be the maximum. These usually don't last too long. Sometimes they can be slow movers, but you notice there's not a lot of these across the map. And also our severe weather potential today, tomorrow, and Saturday, you don't see any color except for the color green, which just means general thunderstorms. So nothing elevated for a severe risk, which is always good news. Evening hour forecast, I think we're only going to see a chance of a storm for Charlotte up until about 6, 7 o'clock. The sun sets at 8:42, so we're not going to see those prolonged storms heading into the evening. Now, there might always be a lingerer, one that wants to overachieve and party later into the evening, but most of us are going to be drying out by the time that sun is setting, and then temperatures drop back down to around 70 degrees. This is also a typical July temperature, falling to about 70 degrees and then getting back up to 90 degrees, and that's pretty much rinse and repeat the forecast. Tomorrow, I think, is going to be slightly warmer than what we have today, maybe by a degree or two. Also, a better chance for showers and thunderstorms, and I'll prove it to you. Check out our Futurecast for tomorrow. Nothing happening for the morning, and then boom, 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 boom. Seeing storms all across the area. Much better coverage area. I think we're almost doubling the amount of storms that we'll see today to tomorrow, and it's just because we have a slightly better setup for this. Still an outside chance that one of these would be severe, but nothing really elevated. Our rain chances are also going to be on the rise by the end of the weekend heading into Monday. These are the only days that have a 60% chance for rain. That means most likely half of us and beyond will see rain. It's all because of the train tracks that get set up. Once this system moves overhead, that's going to keep a cold front draped over the area. That'll allow pulses of rain and also enhance cloud cover, especially for your Monday. And the more rain and cloud cover you see, the cooler the temperatures are going to be. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast shows the hottest days, at least over the next 7, are today and tomorrow. Right around 90 degrees on Saturday. It's cooler, more clouds on Sunday. The coolest day, Monday, 82 degrees. A nice break from the heat and humidity and break from the rain chances Tuesday, Wednesday.
At WCNC Charlotte, we really want to make a difference. We have tools like Verify and Where's the Money to really listen to viewers and see what they're struggling with, whether that's trying to get money that you deserve or answering a question that's confusing you. We're not the experts, we're interviewing the experts. And that's why we want to bring it to you so you can see the facts, how we check them, and how we get the answer.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
You had a nice little vacation in the middle of the week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Celebrated America and my son's 5th birthday.
Happy birthday, CJ.
Happy birthday, CJ. Happy birthday, America. Happy birthday to anybody else involved. Hey, folks, this morning we were talking about what's probably the biggest trending thing right now around the world, and that is something called Threads. It's an offshoot of Instagram, and it's meant to be sort of like a Twitter killer.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg launched this, right?
Yeah.
I came back to this big surprise. We both got on it.
Yep.
So we have accounts. Yeah, very interesting. Are you guys all on it?
No.
Nope,
so
not yet.
I didn't hear about it literally until our newscast.
I don't have a needle yet to get the thread.
That's right.
And you can only do it on the app. You can't. You can't like go to your desktop computer and do it yet. You have to download the app on your cell phone.
Interesting. So what's it look like when y'all open it? Like, what are...
Like Twitter.
Yeah, it's very similar to...
What is, like, the content that you're getting?
So this is...
No, y'all did not post a selfie.
Already did a selfie this morning.
Is that your first thread?
No, my first thread was last night.
Now, you can't show this when nobody else can see it.
Yeah, I mean, the format is really... I wish I could show you. It's just basically very, very similar to Twitter. Yeah, there you go.
And he's,
so when you get on, you can immediately... Oh, be careful. I hope...
It's all good.
When you get on, you're asked, do you want to follow everyone that's on from your Instagram?
Yep.
Which I immediately said yes. Ben said no, because he said he has a totally different crowd on Twitter than he does on Instagram.
I just want to think about it a little bit more, because one thing I think I always enjoyed about Instagram but also Twitter was that they were different and had different followers, and there were different audiences and so I didn't want to automatically assume the people I want.
Twitter's a little more serious, don't you think?
A little more news people. Instagram,
politicians,
I like.
politics.
I was just tweeting about serious power outages on Twitter. Didn't do that on Instagram.
Not on Instagram.
Yeah. I was talking with Hank, our digital director, before we came out here. I was like, what do you think happened to Twitter? Like, because a lot of people loved it and a lot of people came to hate it recently. And I think I think for a lot of people, the trolls and the negativity of Twitter just became too much.
I feel like that's anywhere, though, sometimes.
Right. I mean, it really is all platforms.
But I mean, do you all feel like Instagram is as negative as Twitter?
No, because it's pictures. I like
I know.
pictures.
No, I know. What now?
I think it definitely can be. I mean, all the platforms, it gets a little rough no matter where you're at. But
I think usually, for me anyway, on Twitter, if we have a mess up, which we are only human, in the newscast, sometimes we immediately get a snarky comment on Twitter, but Instagram, you won't.
Yeah. And I think that's one, and also Twitter allows you to be anonymous. And so you can be a bot or you can be anything else. And where Instagram,
but
you could certainly
create
do
a
that.
fake account on Instagram too.
Yeah, people don't do that much. I mean,
I would beg to differ.
Oh, dude, seriously, no, please share your experience. Are there a lot of bots and trolls on Instagram?
Oh my goodness, yes. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of them.
I have never had a problem with MySpace.
Amen. It's still the safe one. It's still the safe one.
Melissa Banks chiming in saying, I got enough to keep up with. No thanks, I'm old. And John Kelly saying, I agree with Melissa. So I think until it really takes off, I think a lot of people may.
You can only juggle so many platforms. Like you guys got really into TikTok.
We did.
That was like I drew the line at TikTok because I'm like I do not have the time
we were on a roll last year.
Yeah. But then it got exhausting.
It's a lot. It was fun at first, and then you're like, even though I have more followers on any of my platforms on TikTok. But I don't pay attention.
Most of them are in China.
Yeah, with all that stuff, I kind of was like, I don't know. Should I be on this? I don't know. And then Instagram came out with Reels, which kind of gave you that. And you could scroll, and I look at pictures and news and fun videos. Where TikTok is a lot of like, in your face
that's
videos.
a very good point. Notice what Instagram's doing. They created Reels to compete with TikTok. They can now have Threads competing with Twitter. So Instagram is really
They're taking over.
Taking all branches that you're going to be able to jump out on. And forgive me, you might have said this earlier. When you're making an account for Threads, do you log in with your Instagram? Or
is it, you go through.
Okay.
I think you can do either.
It is a separate app. But you go through Instagram to start it, and you have your same Instagram handle.
Which is great.
And you can import your same contacts if you want.
Your photo, your bio.
It is a separate app, but you start it off through Instagram.
I was reading this article. Now, with Thread, posts are limited to 500 characters, which is more than Twitter's 280 characters.
That's still a lot. 500 is still a lot.
And then I didn't get through this entire article, but they said there was some data privacy concerns. This is not going to be rolled out in the European Union because of their strict privacy rules, as well as like Ireland's Data Privacy Commission. So anyway, I mean, but I think we've done stories. We know when we're on social media and Facebook and everything. They have access to our contacts.
If you're a private person, don't be on social media.
Yeah, period.
We've learned every single one of them are going to get some sort of your data. That's the way it seems.
Absolutely. I think what it comes down to too is with Threads, especially since they're trying to mimic Twitter, they're going to have to figure out like how to very specifically cater to their audience. So for a lot of folks that don't know, I didn't start in news on camera. I started behind the scenes doing digital. And when we would like read all the analytics, the problem with Twitter is that essentially it's journalists talking to other journalists, because if you think about it, the way it's built is perfect for news because you're getting everything in real-time updates, but it's not necessarily like catered to specifically your interests, which is what gets a lot of popularity on Instagram, Facebook, which is why you don't see maybe the posts as timely as you usually would.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too don't really get on Twitter like they do Facebook or Instagram unless there's breaking news.
Exactly.
We see if there's car accidents, if there's a fire, people are immediately searching that and trying to see what's the latest news we can get. So it'll be interesting to see what lane Threads takes.
I'm interested in the battle between the two.
Oh yeah.
Two big giant egos going against each other.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not like Mark Zuckerberg is the most popular man in the world, but it's just I feel like Elon Musk. I feel like Elon Musk has become such a polarizing person in just the last couple of months that Mark Zuckerberg is like almost seems like a breath of fresh air otherwise because Elon Musk has become
the lesser of two.
Yeah, honestly. And you know what the thing is? I couldn't have told you a thing about Elon Musk 6 months ago besides he's a Tesla guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he's just become so high profile on Twitter.
He was actually just on the Today Show recently. I just saw him pop up. So.
Oh, were they talking about Threads?
I think so.
Hank Lee saying, I welcome the alternative to Twitter. You get the best of Instagram, my followers, and best of Twitter, selective accounts to follow without the anonymous bots, which is what you were talking about.
Yeah, but again, that's just my experience, but that might not be other people's experience.
They may start creating those bots. You know.
Oh yeah, they'll make it there eventually.
And trolls, and that's what makes it.
The bots always come second.
Not fun. Right?
They wait for everyone to be comfortable, and then here come the bots.
Everything's nice, and they ruin it. All right, folks, let us know if you're going to head on over to the Threads and give us a follow. The station's there as well. I'm sure these other folks will be on there at some point. Maybe not.
I gotta get rid of MySpace.
Yeah, Larry's going for MySpace. He's bringing it back.
Bring it back.
That's right.
I love it.
And Friendster, remember that one too? That was another one.
Oh wow.
There you go.
Last and fast.
All right, folks, we'll see you back here tomorrow for a Friday edition of Wake Up Charlotte to Go.
Alrighty, thanks, Carolyn. Well, coming up on 540 this morning, and we're asking where's the money, this time for student loan forgiveness. So on Friday, the Supreme Court struck down President Biden's plan to forgive and reduce student loans. But that same day, the administration got to work on a new plan. Here's what we know. So the new forgiveness takes a different path to forgiving loans. This time it's under the Higher Education Act. There's a provision there that allows the Education Secretary to, quote, compromise, waive, or even release student loans. But there is a hang-up. There's no guarantee this new approach will survive a legal challenge. While the Higher Education Act has been used to cancel student debt before, it's not been used to forgive as much debt as the Biden administration is trying to use it for. And looking back to Donald Trump's presidency, lawyers for his administration actually concluded years ago that the Education Secretary cannot use the act to provide mass cancellation. Now, as for where that leaves borrowers right now, well, you can expect to start paying loans back this October, and they also start garnering interest again in September. So make sure you watch out for that. Ben, Sarah?
20 people are celebrating Independence Day as new Americans. This happened at a special citizenship ceremony today at the Charlotte Museum of History. These new citizens waited a long time to become Americans, and WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood shares their stories of determination and hope.
Families from around the world waited years for this day, and now they can finally say they're American citizens. At the Charlotte Museum of History Tuesday, the American dream took shape. After years of effort, 20 people from all over the world came together here, surrounded by family and friends, to officially become U.S. citizens.
It's a dream. I think when you come to America, everything is different. The education, the health, that most important we care about.
Zainab Saleh and her husband Mustafa are originally from Sudan in Africa. Right now, that country is in conflict with millions displaced and more than 3,000 killed amid fierce fighting.
The people are suffering, people died in the streets. I want to pray for them to be safe. I don't want to be salvaged because I'm safe, I get out of the country, but I feel bad for my families.
The process to become an American, they say, took about 5 years, with the pair learning how to read and write in English, understand U.S. civics,
that I will support and defend,
and take the oath of allegiance. Steps taken for a better life for themselves and their 2 little girls.
I see a good future for them.
The process in Charlotte is a special yearly celebration for Independence Day.
Some people just have where they go into the office and they sit across from someone in a suit, and all of the official acts they do and take their oaths, which is a room full of witnesses. But we really try to make it a celebration and to make it a party, if you will, to really make people feel special.
From Argentina to India, people came all over the world, now united as one. And after a long journey, they say they're just excited for their future as Americans. Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make a difference now.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. Well, if you're lucky, you have some leftovers from your 4th of July cookout. But of course, it's important to pay attention to some details to make sure you don't get sick.
If you don't want to waste your extra food, you're not alone. But experts say it's important to know the life of your leftovers. Let's connect the dots. According to experts from Better Homes and Gardens, here's how long some of the popular cookout items can be safely stored in the fridge or freezer. Hot dogs, 1 week in the fridge and up to 1 month in the freezer. Other cooked meats, just 3 to 4 days in the fridge and up to 6 months in the freezer. And an important note, the USDA says these items should be refrigerated within 2 hours of cooking them. After that, bacteria starts to grow quickly. What about fruit? Experts say it's good for 3 to 4 days in the fridge and then 3 months in the freezer. And that cake? A week in the fridge or 6 months in the freezer. Experts also say it's important to properly wrap or seal your leftovers to keep out bacteria. And that is connecting the dots.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. If you travel this week, you know plenty of flight cancellations and delays. A lot of it can be blamed on maintenance and technology issues.